Hello humans, I'm the AlienDoctor, but you could call me Alien, and welcome back to another video here on Minecraft Bedrock Edition, showcasing, yet again, another amazing add-on made by the amazing Bedrock Edition community. So you read the title alright. Today I'm going to be showing you a working Minecraft Bedrock Edition F3, like Java F3 style debug screen that, as I say, works in Bedrock Edition. It's pretty great, not going to lie. This is a very cool add-on, and as you can see here, it is an actual working F3 screen. So if I press a button on my keyboard, then it will disappear. So I can toggleable it. It is toggleable. However, it's slightly strange. It actually doesn't work with F3. So you can get an auto hotkey script to set it to F3. However, inside of vanilla Minecraft, the F3 button on your keyboard will not activate this. You have to use the F8 key instead. This is due to how the resource pack works, and as far as I'm aware, there's no way to bind it to the F3 key. You have to use F8 due to reasons. And before we get into it, I should just mention something. So this is not a resource pack. Well, it is. It's also a behavior pack, though. So as you see here, my global resources, I've not got anything applied because you have to apply it to the world resource packs and specifically behavior packs. So as you can see here, we have the Java debug screen for Bedrock by LukasPAH. I believe that's plays games, or I can't remember what the PAH stands for, but that's who made it. And you have to add both the behavior pack and the resource pack to your world. As well as that, you also need to make sure that you are using all of these experimental features, or technically you don't need the game test network, and actually there's a few others that you technically don't need. However, I like to add them anyway, just in case. But on the download page, it will tell you exactly which experimental features you need to use. So yeah, if you really don't want to turn on all of them, then simply read the ones that you do need to turn on. So I'll obviously go through what each line on this thing is, starting with the very top part, so up here. And that simply tells you the release. Now, technically, you can manually change that. That's not automatic. So you can manually change that release to the version that you're playing. That doesn't update automatically, and you can do that by changing the resource pack files. However, I don't think anyone's really that interested to do that. So yeah, I've not, for example, gone ahead and done it in here. It'll also tell you the game mode. So as you can see, right now I'm in game mode creative. However, I can also go into game mode survival, and then I'll get put in survival, and that will obviously update to survival if we wait for the chat to disappear. There we go. So as you can see, it says survival. Let's set myself back to creative though. And then next up, we've got the E. Now that E actually indicates how many entities are in the area. So for example, if I just get like a ton of oak planks and then drop them, you can see here that every time I drop them, another entity is being added to that entity counter. And yeah, that basically just demonstrates how many entities are being loaded right now. So if I drop all of these right now, there is 67 entities being loaded. Now, I will admit that doesn't seem completely accurate. Or maybe it is, I don't know. I guess if we fly away and unload those chunks, does that entity counter suddenly go down? Yeah, it does, because now there's only one entity loaded, and that's me. So I don't really know what's happening there. Maybe there is 55 entities here, or maybe there isn't. I'm not sure. I mean, if I drop all of these... Oh, I see. So because it's counting all of these as sort of one entity because I'm dropping them together. So obviously items, you can have one item like this and then a separate item. However, if you drop an item near an item, then they'll bunch up like that. The bunched up items actually count as one entity, which is why all of these, entities here, although there's way more than 72 blocks here, that's why they only say like 72 entities or whatever, because basically bunched up items count as one entity. That's interesting. That's something that I guess now I think about actually does make sense. But yeah, that's pretty cool. See, look, you can even use this resource pack to discover game mechanics you didn't know existed. So the next line tells you the game efficiency. Now, I'm not quite sure what is happening because I can tell you right now my game is not locked at 30 FPS, and I did try to get my FPS counter up. However, for some reason that wasn't working, so I'm not sure if there's something weird with my graphics card. drivers that's like stopping the FPS counter from working properly, because I couldn't even use the NVIDIA GeForce Experience app to check my FPS. So I don't really know what's going on there, but hopefully that FPS feature will work better for you. I have seen it work for other people, so I don't really know why it's not working for me, but I have a feeling it's actually something to do with my PC as opposed to this actual add-on. The other thing that tells you is the game efficiency, and then it says 100%. I believe that is how efficiently the game is running. So if you're laggy and FPS is dropping and stuff, then I believe, although I'm not 100% sure, that percentage will actually drop. Next up, we've got vanilla server running at 20 ticks. I believe that won't change. That just tells you if you're like, or maybe it will if you play on like a geyser server or something. However, it seems you can't add add-ons to that. It won't tell you. So to be honest, I don't know what the vanilla server thing will do, and then 20 ticks just tells you the ticks. And that 20 ticks isn't like game ticks. That's sort of like the connection to the server. But because we're obviously just playing on a, single player world, that's going to stay at 20 because it's a single player world. Then it tells you the dimension, so it says Minecraft Overworld. If we were to build another portal real quickly, then as you can see here, it now says we are in the Nether, and that would obviously work if we go to the end as well. Next line, we have the position. So this obviously tells you your coordinates. And if we press F8, you can see here, there's no coordinates in the top right, or sorry, in the top left, like there normally would be. Obviously, on Bedrock Edition, if we go down here, if you have show coordinates enabled, then normally the coordinates will appear somewhere up here. However, they haven't. Reason being is that even if you have show coordinates enabled, they automatically will get hidden unless you turn on the F3 screen. So yeah, that is kind of like a downside. You do have to press F8 or whatever to actually view the coordinates every time you want to. You can't just use the vanilla coordinate thingy. However, I mean, I still would say that that's not really a massive problem, seeing as Java Edition players have to put up with that all the time. Next, it tells you which direction you're facing. So right now it tells you that we are facing north towards the negative z-axis, and then east towards the positive x, south towards the positive z, and then west towards the negative x. So obviously, that's really useful if you're underground, and well, I guess it doesn't really quite work as well in the Nether. But let's say I had just been mining, and then I wanted to go back to my base. Maybe I was in a cave or something. To know that I came from west towards negative x means that I can just figure out which direction that is and run back in that direction, if that makes sense. So yeah, that is actually a surprisingly really useful feature, I think, that yeah, is just going to be super useful. Next, we have the light levels. So this tells you the light levels of where you're stood, not where you're looking. So right now where I'm stood, there's a light level of 1. Now that's just because the light levels in the Nether are a little bit strange. If we go back into the overworld, you can see here that this is all light level 15 because we are above ground, and it's the middle of the day. If we go down a bit though, the light levels will probably start to drop if we also go through here. As you can see, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, and blah. So yeah, the light levels do work, and it is dependent on where you're standing, not where you're looking. Next up, the biome is flower forest. So as you can see right now, we're in a flower forest. If we go over here, then this will change to a river, and it is block perfect. As you can see here, flower forest, river, flower forest, river. Now obviously Bedrock Edition might be a bit weird because Bedrock thinks this is the flower forest. However, obviously it's not, but that's just how Bedrock biomes work. This is, I believe this add-on is block perfect. And then as you can see here, we're in a Tiger Mountains. There we go. And yeah, overall, that just is a really nice feature as well. If you want to figure out what biome you're in, maybe, you've been playing on a server and someone's completely destroyed like a biome and you want to know what it originally was or something, well, now you can, check it. Next line, we have difficulty 2. This is set to normal. Obviously, if you had 1, then it would be on easy mode. And if you had 3, it would be on hard mode. There isn't a hardcore, so there's nothing above that. And obviously that corresponds to inside of game settings, the difficulty is set to normal. If we set this to hard, then as you can see, that's going to update to difficulty 3 hard. And then same if we set it to peaceful, then that's going to turn to difficulty 0 peaceful. And then obviously same with easy as well. Next up, we have the day counter. So here's day 2. So if we actually do game rule, do daylight cycles set to true. And as you can see here, we can now just add a ton of time. And you can see here that that day counter will actually change. If you are like, you know, doing a 100-day series or something, or 1,000 days, or however high they go up to nowadays in Bedrock Edition, then this add-on will be super useful because you can actually reliably see what day you're on, which is just a super useful feature, of course. Now, under there, it says debug active. Press F3/F8 to toggle off. So I'm pressing the F3 key and it's not working. As I say, the creator has linked on the download page like an auto hotkey script that you can use if you want to rebind it to F3. However, by default, it's on F8 and you can't change this due to how Bedrock Edition works. So F3 won't work, but F8 will work to toggle it. And then help, press pause, settings, and how to play. Now, this is all like normal. This isn't been modified as far as I'm aware. That's kind of just there to match Java Edition, I believe. And then moving over to the top right, it will just tell you a little bit of information, which most of you aren't going to need to know, or at least in the top part, but the bottom is slightly more interesting. So we'll just briefly go over this. So obviously it tells you your operating system, which is Windows 10, and I'm assuming this will work on Android. And now's a good time to mention this will work on console and on Android. If you're playing on Android, it will add in a dedicated F3 button at the top of your screen, and there is also a way to use it on console as well. I believe you have to crouch and do something or another, but yeah, there is a way to do it. It'll also tell you the coding language, which is obviously C++. That will never change. And then my CPU architecture, which is x86 and then 64-bit. Graphics, Render Dragon, unless they update the graphics engine, then that will probably never change, and then a bunch of other stuff after that. UI type is desktop, so I believe UI type, if you were playing on like a console or a mobile or something, that would actually change. And then input type, keyboard and mouse, I'm pretty sure that would also change if you're playing on a different input type. And then some of the world and player stuff. So the world one is super useful. As you can see here, it tells you whether it's raining or not. Now, you could obviously probably see that anyway, just by looking, but if we set the weather to rain, then as you can see, it will now update is raining to true, and it works the same with thunderstorms as well. It will still count thunderstorms as raining, but we could just clear the weather now. It will also tell you the moon phase. So for those that don't know, there are actually different moons inside of Bedrock Edition, and I believe that's also something that happens on Java Edition. So right now, it is a new moon. However, the next night, it will be a different moon. We'll have to wait until this night is over to actually see what moon that is from the F3 add-on thing. But yeah, it will tell you what the next moon is going to be, or what the current moon is, depending on the time of day, which is pretty nice. So as you can see here, I've set the time back to day, and now the next moon will be a waxing crescent. And last but not least, on the right bottom, we have some player stuff. So this is super useful. So we're actually going to skip over the is in a village. I'll show you that in a second. I just got to find a village first. But the is underground. So this will tell you if there's a block above your head. So if I go under here, it now says I am underground. That's just because there's a block under my head. Obviously, I'm not properly underground, but that's just kind of how this add-on works, I'm afraid. It won't tell you if you're in a cave or anything. Well, it will tell you you're in a cave, but it can't tell the difference between having a single block above your head and being in an actual cave. So yeah, that can be a bit misleading, but at the same time, I don't know what you were really expecting. This is Bedrock Edition. And then, last but not least, is in a village. So let me just go and find a village real quickly. So the is in a village is kind of what you'd expect. It tells you if you're in a village. And oh, this is useless. I use /locate to find this village, and this isn't even an actual village. This is a abandoned. That's terrible. What's the point in that? I do /locate to find a village, and it gives me an abandoned one. That's terrible. Luckily, not too far away, there was an actual village. So as you can see there, on the is in village thing, right now it says false, because I'm not stood in a village. However, if I walk over here, then eventually it's going to update to true once I get into the village. So obviously, you'll also notice that this isn't the actual physical village. For those of you that don't know, the Minecraft game doesn't necessarily count all of these structures as a village. For an example, even though the village is generated all the way over here, that doesn't mean it's actually part of a village. The actual way to figure out if you're a part of a village is to do with workstations and stuff. So if we move over here, then we are in a village, and then we're not. It kind of just depends on the positioning of this workstation, and also if a villager has actually linked to the workstation. So we are still in a village over here. However, we're not in a village over here because no villager has linked to this workstation. However, if we were to spawn in another villager and make it link to this workstation, then the village would extend out to here. There we go. So now we're in the village again, and now the village has actually extended all the way out to about this block. And as always, this is where you're stood, not where you're looking. But that can be super useful for things like iron farms and just generally, sort of figuring out issues with villager-based farms. So this add-on is really, really, really cool, and I really like it. Now, there is one other thing I do need to point out for you, and that is that it will automatically spawn this command block at 0, 0 in your world. By default, it will be covered in Bedrock, so nobody can get to it, don't worry. However, it will do this, and it just needs this to actually, work. Now, I believe this is for the day counter, seen as the fact that it says time query day, but yeah, now that will do it automatically. However, you may be wondering, well, what happens if I want to remove this add-on from my world? I don't want this command block to stay there, and, you're in survival, so you can't really manually get rid of the command block or whatever. Well, I'll show you how to remove it. So what you've got to do is load out of your world, press this pencil icon, and they have actually got a Java debug screen removal tool. So if you activate this and then deactivate the actual, add-on, and then the same with the resource pack, although it's done it automatically, then load into the world, it should get rid of this command block. And as you can see, it has replaced the command block with just a normal Bedrock block, which obviously, means that you don't now have a command block sitting at 0, 0. And, that is just if you want to remove this from your game, because you do have to apply this to the world, which means it won't work on servers because it's an add-on. And unless the server owner is willing to add this to the server, yeah, you're not gonna be able to use this, which is a shame. The resource pack by itself doesn't work. But still, I really, really, really like it. And if you're wondering why you have to press F8, basically because it remodels the character paper doll. So if you press F8 without this add-on, then it moves the position thing, and then if I run, you can see there, I've got that little paper doll. Basically, it's retextured that paper doll to be a Java edition F3 debug screen, which is how it's actually toggleable on your keyboard. So that's why by default it's not at F3, because you can't change the controls like that. So other than that, that's all I have to say about this absolutely amazing add-on. It is going to be so useful. I did see a couple of comments saying that I should have included this in my top 3 resource packs for, Bedrock Edition technical players. I didn't include this in that list for 2 reasons. Number 1, I wanted to make a dedicated video, which is obviously this video. And number 2, that was specifically resource packs, because this requires an add-on to make it work. Technically, it's not a resource pack, and I wanted to stick to it as being resource packs because I wanted people to be able to use the things I show in that video on realms and servers. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe today to join the Alien Empire for more Minecraft Bedrock Edition content. Thank you ever so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video coming very soon. Bye.